All right, so very similar to comparing decimals is ordering decimals, which is what this lesson is about. So your goal for today is I can order decimals. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So ordering decimals works in a very similar way to comparing decimals, and that is you are going to take all the numbers in your set, you're going to line up your decimal points, and you're going to add zeros where you need to as placeholders so that you have the same amount of digits in each decimal. Step 2 is you are going to start from the left and you are going to compare the digits and you're going to write them in order. Now you need to pay special attention to the order that you are asked to put them in. So for example, greatest to least or least to greatest. Okay, and so we'll use this as an example. So I've already lined them up here and added zeros as placeholders where necessary. So all of them have a first digit of 1. And then here I have, and so actually, I'm sorry, we're going to order these from least to greatest as an example. So here I have a 2, a 1, a 0, and a 0. So I'm going to focus on these two first because they're both zeros. So then I go to the next digit and I have a 1 and a 0. So again, I'm looking for the least. So I have this one right here is going to be number 1. So it's going to be 1.003. And then when I'm done with it, I like to cross it out. And then we know that this one is next, 1.010. Okay. And then it's very easy from here. Which one is least, 1 or 2? Well, it's the 1, so it's 1.18, and then 1.21. And one mistake that I made here is I added an extra 0 onto the end of that decimal. We need to make sure that we are using the original decimals given when we order them, much like we did when we ordered fractions. We need to use the original fractions. So any zeros that you added onto the end, you need to make sure that you take off once you order them. All right, so here we're going to order from least to greatest. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line them up over here. So I have 1.25, 1.13, 1.21, and 1.2. And I'm going to add a 0 at the end of this one. All right, so all of them start with a 1, okay? Then I'm going least to greatest, so I have a 2, a 1, a 2, and a 2. So I know for sure that this is going to be the first one, 1.13, okay? So I'm going to cross him out here. So the rest of them have 2's. So then I'm going to go to the third number, and again, I'm going least to greatest. So I have a 5, a 1, and a 0. So obviously the 0 is the least, but remember that's a 0 that I added on, so I'm just going to write 1.2. Cross him out, and then which is least, 1 or 5? It's 1, 1.21, which leaves us with the last one, 1.25. So ordering is sometimes a lot easier than comparing even because you don't have to determine a sign. You're just putting numbers in order. All right, here we're going to go least to greatest as well. So I'm going to go ahead and line up the numbers, 2.3, 2.44, 2.43, and then 2.11. And it looks like I need to go back up here and add a 0 as a placeholder. Okay, so they all start with 2's. And again, I'm going least to greatest, so my next number is a 3, a 4, a 4, and a 1. Okay, so I'm going to focus on that 1 because that's definitely the smallest. So my first number is going to be 2.11. And I'm going to cross him out. And then I have a 3, a 4, and a 4. So the 2.3 is next. And remember, I added a 0 onto that, so I need to take it off when I order it. Now I have 2 4's, so I go to the next number to determine which is least, and I have a 4 and a 3, and so the 3 is least, so 2.43, and then that leaves me with the last one, which is 2.4 and 4. Okay? All right, now we're going to go least to greatest again, but this time I have negative numbers. And so the easiest thing to do is to take out your negative numbers and to work with them separately. So I have 0.72 and 0.73. And the reason why you work with them separately is because if you know you're going least to greatest, you know that your negative numbers are going to be the smallest. If you're going greatest to least, you know that your negative numbers are going to be all the way at the end. Okay? So if you handle them separately, then it's a lot less confusing. So let's line these guys up first. So I have my zeros and my sevens cross out, and I'm left with a -2 and a -3. Okay, so if I'm going least to greatest, which one is least? The -3 is least. So I'm going to do -0.73 and then -0.72. Okay, that gets rid of those two numbers. Then I am left with 0.68 and 0.71. Okay, so here I have a 6 and a 7, which is least, the 6. Okay, so 0.68 and 0.71. And so that is my final answer. All right, now we're going to go greatest to least. Here I have all positive numbers to start out with, but I'm still going to line them up. 2.09, 2.39, 2.92, and then 2.9, but I'm going to add a 0 on the end as a placeholder. So all of my 2's cancel out. So I'm going greatest to least this time. I'm looking for the biggest number. I have a 0, a 3, a 9, and a 9. So I'm focusing on the 9's this time, and I need to go to the second number. I have a 2 and a 0. I'm looking for the greatest. So that's going to be this 2.92. So that's done. Then this one is next, 2.9, because I added the 0 on the end. Now, what's the next greatest? 2.39 and then 2.09. So by lining them up, it really helps you figure it out quicker. All right, here I'm going greatest to least, but now I've given you some negative numbers. Like I said before, handle them separately. Because I'm going greatest to least, though, I know my positive numbers are going to be first, so I'm going to deal with them first. So I have 2.41 and 0.41 and 0.14. Okay, so my zeros cancel, and then I have a 4 and a 1. I'm looking for the greatest. So 0.41 is first, followed by 0.14. So I've taken care of both of those. And I can cross them out here. And now I'm going to go back and take care of my negative numbers. Negative 0.48, negative 0.84. And again, remember, I'm looking for the greatest. Okay, so my zeros cancel, and here I have a -4 and a -8. So which is bigger, -4 or -8? -4 is bigger, okay? So then I'm going to have negative 0.48 and negative 0.84. And these are now in order from greatest to least. All right, go ahead and try these guys on your own. I don't have enough space to line them all up, so I'm just going to post the answers. All right, if you're not done, go ahead and hit pause so that you can finish. Make sure that as you're checking your answers, you look to see if you followed the ordering directions, because half of them are least to greatest and then half of them are greatest to least. And then, like I said, I didn't have enough room to completely line them up. So if you do have any pressing questions, make sure that you come talk to me when you get to class. All right, that is the end of the ordering lesson. Again, ordering a lot more straightforward than comparing, but very important because when we get to the end of the decimals unit, we will be comparing and ordering once again, but we will be comparing and ordering fractions and decimals together in one set of numbers.